Greetings, scholars, parents, melanated geniuses, beautiful people, gifted and bright humans of the world. Thank y'all for tuning in to another IMI Institute of Melanated Innovation community course. Today, we got Eric Majette here to give y'all a major introduction into the history, the legacy, and the jewels and gems that we can take from the Black Panther Party. Now, we did a part one of this not too long ago, but if you missed part one, we wanted to make sure we bring in Eric Majette to do a deeper dive into the history and legacy of the Black Panthers and how we can take some lessons to today, 2023. Happy New Year to you all. Go ahead and introduce yourself inside the comments. If you're watching live or you're watching on a replay, go ahead and put inside the chat your name, the city that you are tapping in from, and what is one thing that you want to learn today about the Black Panther Party. If you are watching live and you feel like there's a scholar, there's a family, there's a parent that would love this free education, this free community course, feel free to share this YouTube link, share this Facebook link out to a family or a homeschooling network that you know. So without further ado, beautiful people, we're going to go ahead and get into it. We look forward to engaging with you throughout this course. Eric is very engaging. He likes the open dialogue. So if you have questions, if you have thoughts, definitely throughout the course, go ahead and put them inside the comments, put them inside the chat. Let's get into it. All right, welcome back, scholars. Again, my name is Devon Travell, Director of Curriculum for IMI, Institute of Melanated Innovation. If this is your first course, you've tapped in with us. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the classroom. Welcome to the Galactic Genius. A quick little introduction into IMI. One, we are here to increase access to Black Studies courses and experiences for our K-12 youth. Black Studies has done amazing things in my life as far as being able to increase my self-esteem, increase the way that I see myself, and increase the way that I move inside of the world to create change and wealth for my family. And that's what we want to be able to provide you all at a young age or a wise age, access to Black Studies, Black history to build that confidence. We're also here to serve as a think tank and research center focused on solving problems to improve Black life in our community. If you're interested in learning more about our memberships, we have two primary tiers that are actually y'all getting in at a really good time because we're changing prices, we're changing things. Me and Eric were just talking about this earlier. We're changing some things. So if you're watching this live, go ahead and go to imifoundation.com. That's www.imifoundation.com and check out our memberships. Prices will be increasing next month very, very soon because we're putting in a lot of effort. We're putting in a lot of energy and a lot of resources into creating the best Black Studies platform that we can. So we have to make sure that we can make sure the platform keeps running. So make sure y'all go to imifoundation.com and sign up for your membership today. Now, without further ado, I want to welcome the keeper of the jewels, King of Black Studies himself, Mr. Primary Source himself, Eric Majette. What's going on, King?
How's everything, brother? It's good to see you. Good to be back.
Hey, likewise. Yeah, blessing to have you back on here. The last time we had you on here, you did a incredible deep dive on Marcus Garvey, his legacy, his family, his economic impact on the Black community. So glad to have you back to do a little bit of West Coast history, a little bit of California history, and talk to folks about the Black Panthers.
Definitely. Well, it's always a pleasure to be back. This is home.
Mm,
Anywhere we are, this is home.
yeah.
So it's always a pleasure to be here. For those that don't know me, I have the pleasure of being named the Keeper of the Jewels by our great ancestor, Dick Gregory. He named me that because of my dedication to preserving our history. I've spent my life savings buying back our history. Um, one piece at a time. I have upwards of over 15,000 pieces of original Black history artifacts. So this is my passion. You know, people say you can tell where someone's heart lies by where they spend their money. And I've spent my money buying back our history. So This allows me to have this great conversations with our people to make sure that we understand our history. We were not just Johnny come latelys as it came to contributing to society. We started society. The first thought came from somebody that looked like you and I. So we want to continue that excellence, that spirit of excellence, and making sure we're sharing the information. And that's why I rock with IMI and Devon. Like just everything aligns. So you guys have an amazing gym, an amazing resource out there on the West Coast, but also internationally because it is an international platform, and I'm just grateful to be a part of it.
All right, I'll say, my good brother. Thank you for the affirmation. I appreciate that.
All right, let's go to actually let's run back to the original slide. I forgot. Oh, never mind. We already did that. I thought I had something else on there. So just to kind of give a forewarning, I'm actually under the weather right now. I'm actually recovering from COVID. So I will be having some tea and some drinks during this time. So please forgive if my voice goes out or whatever. But the show must go on. We have to deliver this information. This is food for our soul and liberation for our spirit and our people. So the show must go on. So today we have three major learning outcomes. The first one, we want you to be able to understand why and when the party was founded, the Black Panther Party. Two, understand the purpose of the 10-point program. And three, we want you to be able to analyze the political strategy of the Black Panther Party. So right here, we have a little fun fact. Both of the founders, Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton, ran for public office. All right, we want you to know that. So that's some very, very awesome information. This was a political movement. If you were here for the last session, intro session with Brother Devon, you learned that. So this is going to be a great, great refresher. This is an actual piece from that flyer. Actually, is a piece from the collection and original flyer from. They ran in the actual Peace and Freedom Party. That was the actual political party. They weren't Democrats. They weren't Republicans. They actually ran under the Peace and Freedom Party. All right. So I just want you guys to have that information. You're going to see a lot of nice graphics that are going to be coming complimentary of the actual collection, as well as we're going to be learning some more in-depth information. All right, here we go. Did you know? So one thing that we didn't do the last time was actually giving the background information. So the very first information I want to give you about the Black Panther Party that actually started the movement, the initial movement that birthed the Black Panther Party was actually in Lowndes County. It was the Freedom Organization, the Lowndes County Freedom Organization, and that was that was founded in 1965 in Alabama. So the Black Panther Party has its roots in Alabama. So the LCFO was formed in response to the lack of political representation for African Americans in Lowndes County, and was dedicated to promoting civil rights and social justice for the African American community. As you now know, on the side, the birthplace of the Black Panther Party and its slogan, Black Power, was in Lowndes County, Alabama, by Stokely Carmichael, otherwise known as Kwame Ture, who became a leader in the party later on. Also, did you know that the Lowndes County Freedom Organization adopted the symbol of a Black Panther as its logo, and it later became known as the Black Panther Party after the Black Panther Party was founded in Oakland, California in 1966. The LCFO played a significant role in the civil rights movement in Alabama and was instrumental in registering African Americans to vote and promoting civil rights and social justice in Alabama. All right. So also, I want you guys to take a look at the actual visuals. The visuals are original artifacts as well. Okay. So this actually is a booklet here from the collection, the Catechism of the Revolutionists. So this was actual information that was put out. These are original artifacts that were put out by the Black Panther Party. So what was the Black Panther Party? The Black Panther Party was a political organization founded in 1966 by Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale in Oakland, California. There were 6 founding members. Okay, we do want to acknowledge them. 1 second, just want to take a quick drink there. Big Man was one of them, and the rest of them we'll actually learn later on. But the Panther Party was actually active in the United States from 1966 until 1982, with international chapters operating in the UK in the early 70s and in Algeria from 1969 until 1972, where also we had some political refugees over there as well. So, why was the Black Panther Party started? The party was founded in response to ongoing issues. This will sound so familiar. It's exactly the same script, just a different cast. It was founded on a response to the ongoing issues of police brutality and racism faced by African Americans in the United States. Now, Newton and Seal were inspired by, of course, the all inspiring and just one of our most amazing modern ancestors, Malcolm X. They saw the need for a more militant and radical approach to addressing the issues that were facing our community. And then I want you also to take note to the graphics there. That was one of the original um, posters. All right. The Black Panther Party was founded on the principles of socialism, self defense, and Black nationalism. Its members were committed to fighting against police brutality and racism, and they advocated for the rights and empowerments of African Americans. The party also worked to address issues such as poverty, housing, healthcare, all within the African American community. Excuse me.
Yeah, I wanted to take a quick pause here to ask you a question, Brother
Mhm,
Majette, if that's okay.
mhm,
So I think two things when I think of the Black Panther Party is one, I think they get a bad rap about being a violent organization. So I want to kind of see your take on the the representation of Black Panthers as being violent or pro gun violence, and
mhm,
then also this whole socialist movement. And I think
mhm,
living in America, we're very capitalist focused, and we live in a capitalist society, and we're raised to think that socialism is a bad thing.
mhm,
So I just wanted to get your take on both of those things. One, the violence of or the perceived violence of the Black Panther Party, and then also the concept of what is socialism actually.
mhm. Well, the only thing that made the Black Panthers or their image violent was that Black folks decided to pick up guns as well and exercise our amendment right of the right to carry. And
Mm,
what we had to do was we literally decided that we were going to police the police. That was the whole issue. Everything was fine and it didn't become, violent until Black folks picked up guns. That it was a whole smear campaign, if you will. It only became violent because we picked them up.
yeah.
Before then, it was just the right to the right to carry. You know, and that whole yeah, that whole do as I say, not as I do, type of mentality is really what it was until we started picking them up. And once we
Right.
started to carry, that's when it became a problem because they're like, oh wait, they might do to us what we did to them.
Mm,
Literally, we've never had a retaliatory mentality. We've always wanted to be and do for ourselves. Just have the same opportunities as everybody else, and that's the biggest fear that they have of Black people in general. That we will actually treat them and do unto them as they've done unto us. That's
mm.
been the main issue. As it relates to the capital, well, not capitalism, excuse me. Oh man, I forgot what you asked.
Socialism. Yeah,
Socialism.
yeah.
The socialism aspect. All we wanted was the the illusion of being able everybody being on the same page. That's what socialism is. It's like everybody, all the money that comes in takes care of everybody. So
Mm,
in a lot of those types of socialist societies like Cuba, and other world powers, they actually have health care for everybody. All the same rights are applicable. It's a level playing field. That's really what we're
mm,
looking for, and you'll find that in really written into the fabric of the 10-point plan. There's a little bit more information that I'll go into on the slides that gives you a little bit of information about the back history of where some of these points actually came from, because this is not the first time that we've actually made these requests, we'll say,
right.
for just a level playing field. That's all we're asking for, is the same thing that you want. The 1% that's getting all the benefits, they want it amongst the 99%.
Mm,
That's really what it is. It's the sharing of wealth amongst all classes.
okay. Thank you for breaking that down.
No problem. My pleasure. Um, so yeah, so one of the issues, well, not issues, but the Black Panther Party gained national attention for its efforts bringing attention to the issues facing African Americans and its militant stance against oppression. The party was known for its involvement in a number of controversial incidents, including armed confrontations with law enforcement and clashes with other political parties and groups. So that's a if we go back real quick, I just want to point out the graphic in that last slide. This is one of the famous posters of the two co-founders that is still legendary today. All right, we can proceed. So the graphic that you see right there on the left there, that's actually an original newspaper that was published in, I believe that one came out in 1970. Um, 3 years into the existence of the party. And of course, as I said, they were inspired by Malcolm X and also were the basically the personal protectors of his wife and family after his assassination. But the importance of the Black Panther Party was they were dedicated to the fight against police brutality, racism, and advocated for rights and empowerments of African Americans. A lot of this information we just talked about. Let's go ahead to the next slide. So they also made major contributions, which this is one thing that's always happened. We've always done something, and then the government or other parties will then take credit for things. So you'll see in this particular instance where there's several things that have were projects or programs that we put in place that the government came back and took and did not give us credit. So the Black Panther Party, they made major significant contributions throughout the community and the world because these models that they made actually were co-opted and again, like I said, were presented as if it was something that the government was doing all the time. So programs such as the Free Breakfast for Children program, which provided free meals to kids in low-income neighborhoods. Sound familiar? You have the breakfast programs for schools. All that was started and actually taken from the minds of the Black Panthers because it was so successful. Um, the other the other institutions that they've created, they organized educational and cultural events such as the Black Panther newspaper, which is the one that I showed you on the previous slide, which was their primary platform to express their views and opinions. This literally carried the message just like Garvey did and the Negro World. They took everything that worked and they implemented it. These were certain things that were necessary for us to upbuild and uplift ourselves, but also for staple programs that would help to just bring everybody better. A hungry child can't be productive. That was the major thing with the breakfast program. And as you see here, this was the free food program, which is like actually also let me go back because other programs that came out of that were WIC, which stood for Women, Infant, and Children, and that was the program now that is a part of the quote unquote welfare program, and that was a lot of the stuff that we actually implemented ourselves through the Black Panther Party. You'll see the bags there with the women here. This was part of that program. It took care of our people and that was something that was not done. And then the government, of course, saw the impact of it and created their own. But that emanated and originated with us. All right, let's go ahead to the next slide. Actually, let's go back. I forgot. Down at the bottom. So that was actually a pin. I don't know if you guys can see that there in the black pin with the pink writing on it. That was actually an original pin from the party when Huey Newton and Bobby Seale ran. Huey was running for Congress and Bobby Seale was running for assemblyman. All right, we can proceed. All right. So here, this is actually a very famous poster or picture as well, because that is the wanted FBI poster and the actual portrait of Kathleen Cleaver, Eldridge Cleaver, and their son. that went all over the world. And it was revolutionary because he's standing in front of his actual wanted FBI poster. Um, so yeah, that's a pretty cool, and you'll find out more about that later on. And then you'll also see where Eldridge ran for president under the Peace and Freedom Party. In addition to its community programs and efforts to address social issues, the Black Panther Party also played a significant role in shaping the political landscape of the United States. The party's activism and militancy inspired other political organizations and movements, and its members continue to be remembered as important figures in the history of the United States. You had other parties or organizations that came out, which we'll go into a little bit more later on. You had your um, I don't want to call them fractions, but you had your other um, spin-offs and natural progressions of other groups that came out of the party. Almost kind of like you have, churches when it comes to denominations. Some may have disagreed on certain things, so they created their own, organizations. But also, every organization or every movement has various, fractions that all come together to create a entire movement.
Yes, sir. And we know we've had some scholars, some parents come in and out. So I just wanted to make sure we reset the space. We do have Eric Majette here, the keeper of the jewels, going through a major introduction, legacy, and lessons of the Black Panther Party. If y'all have any questions, thoughts, feel free to put it inside of the live chat, and we'll put it up on the screen so Eric can go ahead and see that and address it. I did have a kind of a question for you.
Okay.
So what, in your opinion, is the difference between a political group, which I believe the Black Panther Party sits very comfortably in, and
Mhm.
an activist group or an advocate group? Is there a difference between those two types of organizations?
Yes, there are. I would say the main difference is one is actually able to move in a position that can change legislation. That would be the party aspect. The
Mm,
activist is just community people coming together that are voicing their opinion.
got it.
One, it can't change things in the fact of legislation, laws, and stuff like that. You have to actually have a party, a system set up so that you can participate in this, system that we have. So
Mm,
those are the major difference between the two. Both are important because if the people don't speak up, you really don't have the voice of the people to be able to make those changes. So both are, so important. They go hand in hand.
yeah, that's good. Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm. All right.
Ah, the 10-point plan. Here we
Down
go.
to the nitty gritty here. So I want to start off with just giving a little background context. So the 10-point plan of the Black Panther Party for self-defense was actually inspired by the Black Bill of Rights that was derived by Marcus Garvey and the Black delegates of the UNIA convention of the 1920s. That was where they voted on the flag, the red, black, and green flag. They voted on all these particular items, and it was 50. Oh my gosh, it was 54 or 55 items that were included in the original Black Bill of Rights. So that will be something that I'm sure we will cover at a later date as well. But just to let you know the inspiration behind it, these were not something that just came out of the blue. These were things that we've been fighting for since the Constitution. We have never been okay with our treatment. We've always tried to do something about it, and we continue to this day. So, as I said before, same script, different cast, and this is our show. So, the very first point that they actually wanted was one, freedom. We want freedom. We want the power. We want the ability to determine the destiny of our Black community. Powerful. Like literally, there's no other way to get around it. These are just so iconic and just self-explanatory. These are our thoughts. As we go through these, you'll understand and realize that these are the same things we've been asking for. These are the things that we thrive for that literally come from our soul. Especially being the ones that created society. The first society, first community, education, all these things, they came from us. So this is a natural cry to just being restored to our humanity. Let's go to slide. There we go. So number two, we want full employment for our people. It goes on to say that we believe that the federal government is responsible and obligated to give every man employment or a guaranteed income. We believe that if white American businessmen will not give full employment, then the means of production should be taken from the businessmen and placed in the community so that the people of the community can organize and employ all of its people and give a high standard of living. That's point number two.
Yeah.
Point number three, we want an end to the robbery by the capitalists of our Black and oppressed communities. They go on in detail to say, we believe that this racist government has robbed us, and now we are demanding the overdue debt of 40 acres and 2 mules. 40 acres and 2 mules was promised 100 years ago. And this is written in 67. Actually, this was written October 15th, 1966. Okay, these were the demands. So it says, 40 acres and 2 mules was promised 100 years ago as restitution for slave labor and mass murder of Black people. We will accept the payment in currency, which will be distributed to our many communities. The Germans are now aiding the Jews in Israel for the genocide of the Jewish people. The Germans murdered 6 million Jews. The American racist has taken part in the slaughter of over 50 million Black people. Therefore, we feel that this is a modest demand that we make. Number four, we want decent housing fit for the shelter of human beings. They go on to say that we believe if white landlords will not give decent housing to our Black community, then the housing and the land should be made into co-ops or cooperatives so that our community, with government aid, can build and make decent housing for its people. Okay. Number five, we want education for our people that exposes the true nature of this decadent American society. We want education that will teach us our true history and our role in this present day society. Okay. They go on to say, under that particular number five, we believe in the educational system that will give our people a knowledge of self. If a man does not have knowledge of self and his position in society and the world, then he has little chance to relate to anything else. Things that we know. One of the reasons why critical race theory, which is, being such a big and controversial thing. If you know who you are, you won't stand for treatment of anything less than what you are, which is a human being and the original man. That's the importance of IMI and what we're doing collectively to make sure that the first thing, in order for us to get to where we were and restore ourselves, we have to understand and know who we are.
Sure. All right. So I wanted to pause there. We went through 5 very powerful demands on the 10-point program so far. And all of them are very reasonable demands as well. Right.
Yeah,
We're starting off with,
we're not asking for $1 million and cars and Bentleys and jets, all these things that are material. We're asking for things that every human being should have. Especially for the free labor that they've gotten bonus stuff off of us. We just asking for the residual rights that we should have had in the first place. You can't make $1 billion off of people and not expect them to want their portion, their right portion, their rightful portion. Every major and founding family and company has our people to thank for the foundations of their riches. You have to think about that. Even the ones that are right now that just got finished bickering and it took them 15 votes to be able to get a speaker for the Republican Party. Most of them have benefited from the institution of slavery. The old speaker, I dislike him, so I forgot his name at the moment. It really escapes my mind. But, both of his grandfathers on of course both sides maternal and paternal, actually passed down major plots of land, and they both own slaves.
Mm,
So he benefits from the institution of enslavement, and he does not support reparations in any form.
mm,
But there's a direct lineage and a direct correlation of enslavement and his wealth that was passed down intergenerationally.
yep.
That was a tongue twister right there. But it's like it's the do as I say, not as I do. It's like, okay, this was good for me. This worked. This is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to pass down, these things. But also, if you are a beneficiary of it, think about it now when it comes down to inheritance tax. There's an inheritance tax. If you inherit something, you have to pay tax on it. Well, guess what? These rich
Mm,
white families and companies have to pay their taxes.
mm,
They have to pay us our portion for what they've inherited off of our backs.
yeah,
And it's time that we push that through. And these 10 points are not even really going for what we should. These are just the basics of humanity.
mm,
I just really want to interject that. I want people to understand this is just the basics of humanity. You can go into what they call a quote unquote third world country, and they have these basic amenities.
yeah. So with that being said, I wanted to challenge the scholars and the people watching today, especially if you're watching live. Which one of these demands, and there's still five more, okay, but I'm gonna ask this for the first five, then I'll ask this again for the second five. Out of these five demands, which ones are still applicable today? All right. So inside the chat, inside the comments, go ahead and put whichever numbers you think, and we'll go over them really quickly again. Which ones you think today, over 60 years after the original 10-point program was written, how many of these demands should we still be asking for today? So number one is freedom. Number two is full employment for the Black community. Number three is we want the end of the robbery of capitalists of the Black community. So people who are, owning the liquor stores, owning the hair salons, owning the grocery stores inside the Black community, but aren't pouring back into that same community.
Yeah,
Number
definitely.
four, go ahead, Eric.
No, I'm saying definitely the beauty supply stores,
Yep.
and in addition to the liquor stores, like you were saying, because
Yep.
those are the equivalent of leeches or vampires. They suck the blood out of the community, but don't deposit anything back. So that's what actually keeps our money from circulating. The Jewish community, their money circulates the highest out of all the communities, and our money circulates in our community seconds. Seconds, because you think about it, we don't own the grocery stores. This was one of the major things that Garvey was talking about. We have to own the distribution channels in order to be able to control our communities and our destinies.
Right.
If you're not able to manufacture anything, you're not able to create. You're not the source of the creation, even though it emanates from us. We
Mhm.
don't control anything of it. That's the major thing, that even as it relates to the music industry, the sports, all these things that we dominate in. The one thing that we don't have is the originator of it, the distribution channels. And if you can't make and manufacture and control your product, then guess what? You're enslaved.
Mm. Yep. This is the
Somebody
the
else.
supply chain.
Exactly.
Vertical integration of our genius, right? It's not enough just to have the amazing ideas.
Hmm.
We need to learn, how do we get the manufacturing of it? How do we get the production of it? How do we distribute it? How do we own the branding, the intellectual property? We need the full vertical integration of our genius.
Absolutely.
All right. Now that was only three. Number four is decent housing. Is decent housing still something today in 2023 that we need for our community? And then number five, education, but not just any old education. Education that gives our scholars knowledge of self and truly shows them and teaches them who they are in this world, in this universe. So those are the top five right now. All right, we still got five more, so still rock with us. But go ahead and put inside the comments whenever you're ready. Which one, two, three, four, or five?
Sinclair, you are absolutely right.
Let's see. Sinclair said all of them are still applicable. Okay. So go ahead, as you're watching, go ahead and put in your thoughts. All right, pass it back off to you, Majette.
All right. Number six. We want all Black men to be exempt from military service. The information or the belief behind that is that we believe that Black people should not be forced to fight in military service to defend a racist government that does not protect us. We will not fight and kill other people of color in the world who, like Black people, are being victimized by the white racist government of America. We will protect ourselves from the force and the violence of the racist police and the racist military by whatever means necessary. So that's the key word there. Who was the inspiration for that? By any means necessary. Drop it in the comments so I know you're with me. Who was the inspiration for that verbiage right there? Yes, that is correct. Malcolm X. All right. So we see this information. This was all things that he talked about in many of his speeches. You got to think about the ballot and the bullet, the ballot or the bullet. All these revolutionary, speeches and things that he spoke about. So you can see how the fabric of who he was, and also Marcus Garvey, because Malcolm X, before he was in the Nation of Islam, he was heavily influenced by Marcus Garvey, because his father was a Garveyite. His father was actually the president of the local division, and his mother was the secretary for the organization as well. So you see how all of these things, it's a snowball effect. It's the same script, like I said, but different cast. The information has been passed down, and still today, these are the same things you're hearing echoing today. So moving on, number 7, we want an immediate end to police brutality and the murder of Black people. We believe we can end police brutality in our Black communities by organizing Black self-defense groups that are dedicated to defending our Black community from racist police oppression and brutality. The Second Amendment of the Constitution gives a right to bear arms. We therefore believe that all Black people should arm themselves for self-defense. Okay, that's major. This also reminds me of another group that came out during this time period, which was the Deacons for Self-Defense, or Deacons for Defense. You have to check that out. Robert F. Williams, amazing. Like these were like those brothers. They got the guns just like the Black Panther Party down in North Carolina. There's like I said, we've never conformed to tyranny. We've always stood up for our rights. Now, a lot of these situations are not talked about, because who would want, in a dominant culture, who would want to talk about different things or revolts or uprisings that came against what we were trying to teach, or even the revisionist history that they were trying to reinforce? So of course you will not be exposed to all this history, all this information, because it goes against the history that they want you to think. Okay. All right. Number 8, we want freedom. Hold on one second here. Yeah. Number 8, we want freedom for all Black men held in federal, state, county, and city prisons and jails. Oh yeah, that's the repeat. My apologies. So number 8 is actually, we want freedom for all Black men held in federal, state, county, and city prisons and jails. We believe that all Black people should be released from the many jails and prisons because they have not received a fair and impartial trial.
Mhm.
That is major. That is major, because even as it related to, oh my gosh, what is the brother's name? I want to say his name was Khalil. You remember that documentary that Jay-Z and them did, the young brother that was in Rikers Island,
Yeah.
and he was stuck there over $200, and he literally was held in jail because he could not afford to be bailed out,
Yep.
and never had a trial. None of that. This is something that's all too familiar, and also as it relates to the political prisoners that are still in there from this time period. You have Mutulu Shakur, which was Tupac's stepfather. You have H. Rap Brown. There's so many brothers and sisters that are still incarcerated as political prisoners that we've forgotten about, that are not actually and able to enjoy the freedoms that they fought for. You know, you have folks that are in there right now for a booming business that now is legal in dozens and dozens of states, and they have not done reciprocal um, legislation to free those that they are now making billions of dollars from those industries, which I'm talking about marijuana. You know, those that had minor, you know, infractions or sales and stuff like that. Now this is legal. The government is making billions of dollars. Why are these people still in jail for what you're now making billions of dollars off of? You know, these are all the things that we have to take account of. You know, we forget because we you know, this newer generation didn't know, but there are political prisoners that are still in jail from the Black Panther Party that have not been out. We have, you know, those that have taken refugee over seas. At one point, you'll see Eldridge Cleaver. They fled to Algiers and were political prisoners over there. Well, exile. They were in political exile over there. You know, you had Herman Ferguson. Him and his wife, they actually fled and were in exile as well. These are names of people that literally had to leave. You have Asada Shakur, who's now, you know, who is still, not now, who is still currently living in exile in Cuba, you know, for trumped up charges, COINTELPRO, which was, you know, this organization, this institution that they created to take down Garvey and then applied those to every Black organization and leader since Garvey. You know, these are all the things that we don't know, we did not know. But it's up to myself and IMI to make sure that we're educating you to why these are still applicable today. We need to have all Black folks that are in jail released. One, because they never had the opportunity for a fair and impartial trial. That's major. Let's go to number 9. Number 9, we want all Black people, when brought to trial, to be tried in a court of a jury of their peers or people from the Black community as defined by the Constitution of the United States. Now, I want to give you the information as it relates to this one. It says, we believe that the courts should follow the United States Constitution so that the Black people will receive fair trials. The 14th Amendment of the United States gives a man the right to be tried by a group of his peers. A peer is a person from the same or similar economic, social, religious, geographical, environmental, historical, and racial background. To do this, the court will be forced to select a jury from the Black community from which the Black defendant came. We have been and are being tried by all white juries that have no understanding of the average reasoning man of a Black community. That's major. You know, these are all the things that are still applicable today. Let's move on to number 10. Number 10, we want land, bread, housing, education, clothing, justice, and peace. They specifically said these, and I want to give you more in depth with this. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one to dissolve the political bands that have connected them with one another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitled them. A decent respect of the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impelled them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of the government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute a new government, laying its foundations on such principles and organizing its power in such a form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their happiness and safety. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for the light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses, usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. This is the importance of the 10-point plan and everything that has derived from them. Let's go back to that slide real quick. The 10-point plan was an important statement of the Black Panther Party's vision and goals. It served as the rally cry for the party's activism and efforts for bringing attention to the issues facing African Americans. The program had a significant impact on the civil rights movement and inspired other political organizations and movements. The demands outlined in 10-point plan continue to be relevant today and are still being fought for by social justice movements around the world. So that concludes the in-depth part of the 10-point program. Brother Devon, did you have anything that you wanted to ask or chime in about? Uh-oh, we can't hear you. You're on mute.
Thank you. Never gets old. But I just think when we're taught about the Black Panther Party in school, it's always a very quick lesson. It's maybe a sentence, maybe a chapter if we're lucky within our history books, and they really only focus on the violence of it. I didn't learn about the 10-point program of the Black Panther Party. I didn't learn about the free breakfast programs. I didn't learn about them. I think there's like a street light where a lot of kids were keep getting hit by cars or something. So they set up posts and they force cars to stop at that intersection in order to protect the children. Like all those really humanitarian things that the Black Panther Party was doing wasn't taught. And the fact that they were very, very intentional, very strategic. And at the end of the day, they were also scholars. Like these were college students
Oh yeah,
who founded it, right?
UP Newton had a PhD.
Scholar.
This was not somebody that was uneducated. Everybody had a very influential role in the party, and one of the things that made a lot of them dangerous was that they actually, you know, cared. There was thought that were put into everything, and everything came from the heart because just like now, everything that you do is out of necessity. The things that we do, the things that we create are out of are curing a void. Madam C.J. Walker, her mentor Annie Malone, she had a need. She had a client that had a need. Women of that time frame that actually had to do domestic work or work in the fields actually had to, a lot of their hair would fall out because one, they didn't have time. Two, that there was any type of products that was made for them in mind. And then three, it was mites. We had different things that were attacking our hair, so their hair would fall out. So Annie Malone decided that she was going to put together a salve that was going to help cure the scalp of the diseases from the mites and the different things that were attacking the scalp. That came out of a necessity. That necessity cured Madam C.J. Walker's baldness, and went on to, help people women, black women, before white women were able to create an industry. Black women had a whole industry on its own, the biggest, that still is the biggest hair care industry in this world. $1 billion industry that we lost in the 80s to the Asian community because we didn't realize our worth, our value, the things that we were talking about earlier as it relates to distribution.
Yep.
Is all those things. We come up with it and then somebody else comes up with how to make it better or how to distribute it. We're find ourselves at the tail end of it just as a consumer when we're the creators of it. It's just like protecting a baby. your own baby. You wouldn't just let your child just, go by the wayside and, do whatever. We've proven time and time again we have to do that with our intellectual, babies. Sinclair asked an amazing question that I really love. They said, "What do you think the Black Panther Party would look like today if it still existed?" I'm happy to say that we still have, you know, Black Panther parties and the Universal Negro Improvement Associations that are still active today. So that is, they are still active. It's more community based, like it started, but it would look like um, the Nation of Islam here in Atlanta in the Bluff. They've created, I think it was called 1,000 Strong, and it's an organization that polices our communities. That actually is out there in one of the roughest, well, formerly roughest neighborhoods here in Atlanta in the Bluff. And we've gotten our volunteers that are out there and policing our own community, where we don't have to worry about those that are externally, enforcing things that don't necessarily align with our communities or even how we treat and talk to each other. That's the other thing about communities. We don't have communities. We have colonies. A community is governed from the inside. A colony is governed from the outside. Now, you tell me which one we have. Those are the things that we have to think of. And until we realize, a lot of times we're walking blind in a lot of these situations because we're just trying to live. We should not have to just literally just, we're not living. We're coexisting. We're taking a co-pilot seat in our lives. And that's because we're just trying to survive. We're in survival mode, and once we're awakened from our sleep, just to knowledge of self, then these are the things that we start to do, start taking control and taking the reins of our communities or colonies and turning them into communities where we're controlling everything in them. The grocery stores, kicking out the liquor stores. We don't need liquor stores. We don't. Oh, I'm about to say this, and it's going.
It's gonna make some people feel some type of way.
Some people feel some type of way. We don't need no more churches either.
Mm.
Any government, we are literally we're country within a country. Anywhere we are, buying power. We have the largest, I think it's the 6th or 7th largest buying power of any nation. And I'm talking about Black folks.
Yeah.
Like literally, we are a nation. We are a government. So the first thing that we need is one, the first thing any government needs is a military. That was our Black Panther Party. That was the SNCC. That was the, 10,000 strong, that Minister Farrakhan and them put together. That's our military. That protects our government. That protects our people. Okay? We don't need churches. That's the last thing. That's the last thing that you actually need when building a nation. When you go back and look at the foundations of a nation, that's the last thing that comes. Education is going to be next as well. And do we control our educational system?
Nope.
Exactly. So these are all the things that we have to start thinking about. When we're talking about the distribution chain, that falls in it. There's nothing that originates and consistently stays in our community. Whether it's our music, our arts, all of these things then has to go to Broadway. It has to go to these different things that are external. Somebody else has to put their stamp of approval on it for us to feel like it has value. That was just like it was with our artifacts. Just to give an insight on that, the majority, I would say 90% of the artifacts that I actually have rescued has come from 90% from white folks and white establishments, white auctions, and white dealers. We never realized the value of our own artifacts, our birthright, until white folks put a price tag on it. And I'm the one that paid the most for it. They went, when grandma died, they went to the house, our family members, our cousins and them called the Goodwill. for them to come get the stuff out, because the first thing that we want to do was sell a house.
Mm.
You know, we cleared the house out. They gave us $500 for everything in Grandma's house. Grandma had everything that went back, that held our family history, the family Bible that had every ancestor's name to, the beginning of our era, all these things. And we didn't realize the information that she had. She had the original stuff from, Marcus Garvey's movements, from
Wow.
Mex movements, all these things. And then they sold, that to the Goodwill. The Goodwill says, hey, let me go to the dealers I know. Hey, dealers, I've got all this stuff. Another black family just didn't understand what they had. How much can I get for this? So the dealer takes that $500 investment and flips it into 5,000.
Yeah.
That
So
dealer.
with that in mind, because I don't know if you saw the Bruce's Beach family
Yes,
just
they're about to sell it back. Yeah.
about to sell it back, and this is
Yeah.
exactly what we're talking about, right?
And it's terrible. That's the thing. It's like they had a sucky deal anyway. They were getting less than $500,000 for the rental for the year. So it made sense for them to sell, but they're selling too low. You have to look at the value, the time value. One, the time that's lost. That's one, from it being stolen. So you have to look back at that, assess that value that you lost, and then the value of time moving forward. With that particular deal, with them getting $500,000 a year, that didn't mean anything. So the 20 million that they're getting, they're like, oh yes, that's good, but that's technically only 20 years worth of the value.
Yeah.
How much did you lose out for? They lost out on how many years?
90 something
Yeah,
years.
100 years. I'm like, who's advising y'all? Like, you got the white folks that's trying to steal your land, advising you. No, they owed them 20 million.
Easily.
I wouldn't have sold that land for less than 100 million.
Easily.
It's those types of situations where we don't realize what we have until a white person puts a price tag on it. Or, and then the thing about it is, it's a conflict of interest. The people that were, the people that were advising them are part of the structure that took the land from them in the first place. So it's those things. It's detrimental to us. Yes, exactly.
So I want to add
more than that, Sinclair, because it's ridiculous. Like, literally that, man, the value of 100 years, I'm just going to round it up. The value of 100 years lost, And then on top of that, let's talk about inflation.
Right.
If they're saying that was worth that now, how much did they lose? How much was the land worth back then? And then let's do compounded interest. Let's talk about some of these things. It's like, I don't know who was advising this. Well, I know who was advising the family, but ultimately, the lack of knowledge is a detriment to us.
Yeah.
And the
so
lack of knowledge at that.
I want to ask another question before we hop back in. I know we still got a few more slides. We getting some good live discussion here, y'all. If you're watching live, definitely make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, and continue to add your comments and add your questions, as y'all have been inside the chat. And as y'all see, Eric is happy to engage.
Yes.
But a question I have is, because we know that, especially throughout America, but throughout the world, Black folks are living at different points in their lives in different communities, right? We have some folks who may be in a wealthy community, some folks that may be working class, middle class, and then some folks that may be in the day-to-day grind, like in the Bluff community. In thinking about our folks who may be in the working class, the middle class, or even wealthy, what is their role in supporting a group like the Black Panthers, or supporting just the Black community as a whole? If they're thinking, I don't need free lunch because I can afford lunch, or I don't need my community police because I live in a good, quote unquote, good community, what do we say? How do we galvanize the middle class and the wealthy folks to be united within the whole community?
It's our obligation, point blank, period. We've never been a individualist society until we came under white Western rule. We've always been a people that has been of a village mentality. I am because we are. These are our roots, and we have to get back to our actual roots. This is the importance of our flow. Um, we know that, even if if you ascribe to Christianity, it says it's always going to be poor amongst us. So we know that, charity starts at home and spreads abroad. That's how we have to operate,
mm,
because in the society that we're in, nobody else is going to look out for us other than ourselves. We are all we have.
mm,
We've seen that time and time again. And until we start operating like that, um, we need each other. Like even our neighbors. If you're going out of town, you would want your neighbors to look out for your house. You know, um, and it's those things. Like back in the day, we used to be able to go to our neighbor and ask for sugar. Ask for, flour, whatever those things. Those are the ties that bind us, and we've gotten so separate. And because of that individualistic Western and European dog eat dog mentality, we've lost those ties that bind. So you saw the fabric of our communities start to break up. And as it started to break up, you see the decline.
mm,
You see how neighborhoods can go neglected, you know, untaken care of, for forever since we were able to buy property. We've always took pride in our communities. It wasn't until, one, redlining and, other discriminations that allowed us, or that prevented us from being able to take pride in our communities, because money was not flowing. Money was being taken, but it was not being poured back into the community. One, because we didn't own it. You can't expect somebody to do the same things that you would do for your own
mm,
community, for your own selves. So if they are white, guess who their priorities are?
mm,
It's going to go to those that look like them. It's been tested and true. You can look back at every instance. And that's one of the things that we can't expect. You can't expect a business that's owned by white people, that's owned by this particular culture, to show favoritism to anything other than their own, their family, nepotism, all of that. They're going to always look out for themselves. So the same thing is important of why we need to have our own. You need to have these black businesses so that you can make sure that you can take care of your own. You can give preferential treatment. You can make sure your people are paid better. All these different opportunities that we are not being given. We can't expect somebody that is our oppressor to really want to benefit us.
mm.
That's insanity. You know, Doing the same thing, expecting a different result. That's not wise. And we have to realize these things. All we have is ourselves. All we can depend on is ourselves. And that's the part that we have to get back to, is depending on each other, getting back to the communal society, getting back to the village mentality, and really embracing that I am because we are. That's the most important step. And that comes once you know who you are, because you won't accept, or you won't even operate lower than the frequency that you know that you operate and thrive at.
Yeah. Shay, and I put that phrase inside of the comment Ubuntu, right,
Mhm.
which means I am because we are, and because we are, therefore I am. And I did, want to double and highlight this, the importance of prioritizing our family, our people, our community, because unfortunately, it's not other people's priority,
Right.
right? So it's
And
up
it's
to
not their
us.
obligation either. Let's
Right.
interject that. It's not
Right.
their obligation. That's our obligation.
Yes.
I have an obligation to you guys. We have an obligation to you guys. We have the information. So it's up to us to give the information.
Mhm. Yep. And another thing that was so powerful about the Black Panther Party and about Martin Luther King was that after they saw themselves situated and confirmed as the black community being their priority, they then started reaching out to other communities. It wasn't depending on other communities to support them, but it was, how can we create this Black Panther Party? How can we put our black community first and then create a rainbow coalition to
Mhm.
then bring in other people so that we can all fight white supremacy together?
Well,
Right.
I
So,
don't want to give credit to the wrong people. So I'll
mm,
specifically say that actually started before Jesse Jackson with the Rainbow Coalition. He was later on. There's information about that we ain't going to go into today. But I do want to keep it within the party, because they were one of the first that did that. And the one of the major people that made him really, really dangerous was Fred Hampton. He
Mhm.
was the one that literally charity started at home and then it spread abroad. The thing that made him dangerous to J. Edgar Hoover was that he was actually building a coalition. He actually brought in the um, the Hispanic community, the white community, and all the others, the Latin community in general, and actually put all of our works together. That was amongst the things that made him very, very dangerous because not only did the charity start at home, it began to spread abroad, and he started bringing everybody together. And
Mhm.
that's the most dangerous thing that could be done. And then Martin Luther King again followed that spirit and also tried to do that with the Poor People's Campaign.
Mhm.
Um, okay, really?
As soon as you start going good, you know
Yeah,
technology always going to
right.
get you.
It's all
You
good
know?
long as the internet's still here. We good.
Yep. Okay, so let's hop back in. We got some more analysis. We got some more things about the Black Panther Party. Thank y'all for rocking with us. I'll pass it back over to Professor Majette.
So let's go through with the analysis of the Black Panther political strategy. Here we go. I don't know what that was, but here we go. Um, the Black Panther Party, it employed a variety of political strategies in its efforts to address the issues facing the African American and facing African Americans and to achieve social justice and equality. So the Black Panther Party's political strategy was centered on militant activism, community organizing, education, and cultural enrichment, and international solidarity. It played a significant role in shaping the political landscape of the United States and beyond. These trickled down into Africa in the establishments of a lot of the sovereignties, I guess you'll call it. And all these were kind of byproducts of Garvey, byproducts of Malcolm X. Malcolm X inspired, you know, um, Kwame Nkrumah, and they actually established Ghana. All these principles, all these things that actually came about, these were all those things that spread abroad once we started here, once we demanded for it. So that's one of the reasons why Garvey and Malcolm X echoed, you know, we can't be free until Africa's free. All right, let's go ahead and move on. So, did you know? And of course, you wouldn't know because you guys don't know. But Kathleen Cleaver of the Black Panther Party is a big supporter of mine and attended my 50th anniversary of the Black Panther Party exhibit. And she actually signed this Jet magazine that you see there. She's amazing. She's based here in Atlanta and is a professor over at Emory.
Mm.
She was the director of communications for the Black Panther Party and the wife of Eldridge Cleaver. Um,
All
yeah,
right, let's give it up for that. Hold on, we can't just zoom past that. You know, like you don't got historical figure support. Congratulations on the support, the sign, the signature, and just the,
yeah.
the network that
It's,
you're growing over there, sir. Well
it's
done.
it's a blessing. It's weird,
Mm,
Um, I think anybody who's doing and operating in their purpose, you don't think about these things as you're doing them. It doesn't seem significant. So the stuff that I've done, the collection that I've amassed, I was just doing my job.
mm,
This was what God and ancestors entrusted me with. So to me, it's nothing. To everybody else, it's like, oh my God.
yeah.
But having, of course, having the endorsements of the elders and the ancestors, Dick Gregory, I'm trying to think of everybody. Marcus Garvey's son,
Mm,
Dr. Garvey, who's the last living, child. He only had two. So the last living direct, you know,
yeah.
lineage from his loins. Having
Yeah.
him as one of my supporters is amazing. You know, um, I've I've touched and interacted with every single one of um, my trusted ancestors. It's weird, the Shabazz daughters, Malcolm X's daughters, you know, um, interacting with them seeing the collection. It's it's surreal, I've met and interacted with the King children.
Mm,
Um, I say Dick Gregory already having his endorsement. It's just so many, I've worked with. Dorothy Height, um, one of the female geniuses behind the civil rights movement.
Mm,
Um, all of those, it's just it's so surreal. Like looking back, but I never, nothing was set out to be like that. Everything just strategically worked out, and you don't make the correlations until later on, and you just like, wait a second, this was divinely orchestrated because you can't weave together a more amazing experience. So I'm just grateful, for the information and experiences I've had, and now to be able to share them with everybody else. It's amazing.
Love it. Love it.
All right, and
Oh no, it has to come to an end.
yes, let's stay connected. Oh yeah, there's the picture of me and Kathleen. That was actually at my old museum here in Atlanta. That was on the corner of Spring and 17th Street in Midtown, right behind Center Stage. And she came over here. That was the first time I did um, my own, like solely owned and operated exhibit in my own building at the time. And it initially came as it was 2016. The first one that year was for the Nation of Islam. They were coming down here for their Holy Day of Atonement at the Fox. And Minister Ishmael, the son of Elijah Muhammad and the right hand of Minister Farrakhan, he said, why don't you do, oh, because I'm on their, I'm the only person outside of the nation that's on their planning committee for their museum that they do every year of their conference that they have, or their Savior's Day. And I'm the only person outside of the nation that's on that. And they said, well, Eric, we got our history. We know, we put together our history stuff, but you have everything else. You have our collective history. Why don't you put together an exhibit? And I was like, okay. Never thought about it. I was just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Put together this amazing 200 plus piece exhibit. And that's it just kind of went from there and spun over, and I just held it over because every time I got ready to take it down, more people would find out about it and more people would come. And at the tail end of that, it also happened to correlate with the 50th anniversary, 50th or 50 something anniversary of the Black Panthers. And Kathleen came and she got to see the full exhibit. And when she came in to the area where I had the Black Panthers, she was just floored. She was looking, she was like, how'd you get that? We only made 50 of these.
Wow.
And started, going in detail for each one of the items. So actually you can probably see that. I think it's on my YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube / The Keeper of the Jewels, you'll be able to see some of the clips from Kathleen's visit. And it's just been amazing. And you can check out all my social media, my IG, the Mr. Majestic, or my Black History IG, the Keeper of the Jewels. The TikTok is the Keeper of the Jewels. Everything else is the Keeper of the Jewels. Everything. I'm moving over everything to the Keeper of the Jewels because last Black History Month I was unable to go live on my personal IG, the Mr. Majestic. I could not go live. Only in February. It was crazy. I was just like, why is this happening? Yeah, they couldn't figure it out. There was no blocks on my account. The only thing I was doing was sharing information about the magnificence and excellence and the majestic nature of Black folks.
Dangerous stuff there, though.
Definitely, I found out it was. So, now I have the Keeper of the Jewels account, and then also it's moving people more towards the things that I can control, the YouTubes, and then my website, blackhistoryarchives.com. And we're launching other items where now we can kind of control it. We're going to be doing the newsletter soon, or subscription where people can actually join the newsletter so that we can control communication, and it's not on a third-party platform. We definitely have to start controlling our the things we own. I can't talk about us needing to have and control each one of our distribution chains if I'm not doing it myself. You
Mm.
know, so those are the things. We're going to be launching the course in February. One of the largest comprehensive Black history courses, which is a crazy feat.
Yeah.
But I was built and prepared for this. We have over 15,000 original Black history artifacts. So a lot of that is playing into the creation of this database, so that we can learn the history and actually be able to continue to teach this and have control over it, because we're not getting it in the school systems. We definitely have to supplement our education and actually make this the primary, so
Yeah.
that when the the revisionist history is being taught in the classrooms to our kids can actually stand up with affirmity, and actually say things that they know and not what they think or what they heard,
Mm.
with evidence to prove, because everything that we have is backed up by actual evidence.
Mm.
So that's the other thing. We just acquired, I think I have all of the original Negro Journal, um, from Dr. Carter G. Woodson. Got
Wow.
1917 all the way up to, I believe it was 1975. Got all those volumes. So it's so much more to come. It's just like, this is literally the tip of the iceberg. It was revealed or reminded to me that I have now combined the legacy of two of our ancestors and elders, and added on top of that, my own unique part of that. And that was one of course, Dr. Carter G. Woodson. He collected and preserved our history. So I'm continuing that legacy. Then there's Arturo Schomburg, who collected the rare books of our history throughout the diaspora, and compiled one of the largest African and African American diasporic book collection, which became, a part of the New York Library. And they've dedicated that part of the New York Library, the Schomburg Center. So combine those two ancestors and their works, and then now I've added 15,000 original Black history artifacts, acquiring all that stuff and putting them all together. We're now, yeah, I guess I'm creating my own lane to be able to, continue our legacy of, just spreading and preserving our history.
Oh yeah, truly, truly living up to the name, the keeper of the jewels, 100%. Right.
Yeah,
When we come out to Atlanta, I need to tap in with you in person,
definitely.
and if there's any artifacts I'm allowed to see,
Of course.
we
Of
can
course.
put on the gloves, put on the hazard thing, whatever I got to do to be able
Right.
to be in the same room as
Actually,
you.
we need to work on coming out to California, doing an event out there.
Yeah.
Do it out there. Actually haven't been out there. I did something for the state of California. What was that, last year, I think?
Okay.
Um, their workforce program, but we definitely need to get something together out there so we can start sharing the actual original artifacts with our people, and
Easy.
making that happen so they can start to see it in person. Because
Okay.
seeing is believing. You can
Exactly.
hear something, you can be inspired by it, but when you see it, you're impacted by it. That's the
Yeah.
difference. An exhibit of mine, you're actually, it's like no other museum experience, because you are having an interaction, you're having an encounter with the ancestors.
Hmm.
I make sure when I'm putting together an exhibit, I'm invoking the presence of our ancestors. So when people come in, they feel things and they can't explain it. They're just like, I don't understand. People get emotional. I've seen folks cry,
Yeah.
from kids all the way up to adults, drug dealers, everything, every walk of life I've seen break down because they had their first intimate encounter with the ancestors. And
Mm.
that's one of the things that is different about any type of museum experience.
Mm.
And I find that to be the most important aspect of what I do.
Mm.
Some of them have never seen our ancestors' handwriting, and you get to see, Malcolm X letters, and different postcards from him to his wife. Like you see them on a completely different level.
Mm,
Marcus Garvey, letters to different people in his organization. Um, I have now copies of some of the letters to him to his kids. So you get to see the different layers of these people. We've seen the myth, the man, and the legend as it relates to every single one of our civil rights leaders, but we've never seen an intimate encounter of them. To
mm,
see them in 3D, to see the wholeness of who they were as a person, you know, and that's been left to myth and interpretation. But you actually get to see through the artifacts who they actually were, what their real thoughts was, and not revisionist history. Malcolm X has been reduced to by any means necessary, but he was so much more than that. He had evolved. The same thing with Dr. King. He was reduced to I have a dream.
mm,
And he realized at the end of his life that his dream had become a nightmare.
mm,
These were things that they don't talk about. These are things that they've put away in a box and pushed to the back of the shelves, so that you don't realize that these things, you get the foo-foo, feel good versions of who they were, and not a complete comprehensive evolution of them as a person, you
mm.
know because it goes against the narrative that they want to go with, you know um, yeah, I could talk about this forever.
No, I already
40,
know.
40 minutes over, so
And you know, as of course we're gonna bring it back. We'll discuss which topic we can do. But IMI, you're always welcome back on the platform. And when your course comes out, feel free to send us the link so that we can also promote it. We'll send it out to everybody because we know the amount of detail that you're gonna go into. People need to know.
thank you.
So
Appreciate
what? Of course. So one more time, again, we got the Keeper of the Jewels here. Make sure you follow him on Instagram. You can also tap into his website at www.blackhistoryarchives.com and see more things that Eric Majette has going on. As we close, can you please give folks one lesson from the Black Panther Party that you really want them to take away from today? We talked about a lot of really good stuff today. We talked about a lot of powerful people. We talked about the 10-point program. What is one lesson that you want to for sure make sure scholars out there that are watching, that are listening, are taken away and can continue to process as they leave today's course?
you. Ooh, man, that is very hard. um, but the one that stands out the most, that encompasses everything, is the freedom part. We want
Mm,
freedom. I want you to think about, I really want you to explore, what does freedom look like to you? What does freedom mean, so that you'll have a concept of what that looks like? I want you to start wrapping your mind around what actual freedom is, and what it means, and what it looks like to you. That's the biggest thing that you can take away from this. Because once you have a concept of freedom, you know what you're looking for. A lot of times we don't necessarily know what things mean. We don't know what we want, but we know what we're looking for. We know what it feels like. So I want you to feel, I want you to really envision, or really do the search that's necessary to figure out what freedom is to you. What does it look like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like? Because when you start to, one course in manifestation is that, if you can conceive it in your mind, you can manifest it in your reality. So once you understand what it looks like, what it feels like, what it tastes like, you start to see, and will actually start to manifest that. You'll actually bring it. You'll cause it to coming in, and being a part of your life. So once you wrap your mind around what that freedom is for you, pursue it with every fiber of your being. As Malcolm X would say, by any means necessary.
mm. There it is, King. Much appreciated. You see in the comments, they're liking the information, they're vibing with you. So appreciate you. Get healthy over there. Hopefully 2023 brings you more prosperity, more information, more artifacts, and more
Definitely.
jewels.
Oh yeah,
All
for sure.
right. I'll catch you next time, King.
Right.
Peace. Scholars, thank y'all for tapping in. Eric Majette, that man is a Black history scholar. So much stuff on there. Very glad we were able to bring him back and give y'all a major introduction to the Black Panther Party. If you have another Black history topic, right, a figure, a concept that you want IMI to do another free community course on, feel free to put it in the comments below or inside the live chat, and we will either find an expert to bring in to cover that topic, or I'm always good to do my own research. I'll watch a few documentaries, I'll read my books, and then I'll be able to create a course as well. If you want more consistent access to courses, if you want access to the study guides, if you want access to the quizzes and all the amazing courses that we have within our academy, head to imifoundation.com. We'll go ahead and put the link up here in a second. Head to imifoundation.com and you have 3 choice of memberships as of today. You have the IMI All Access Pass, which as of today is only like $30 a month. It's crazy. We're increasing that price very soon. We also have the Black Study Snacks, which I believe right now is only $9. We're also increasing that very soon. And then you have the Play Black Wall Street Academy membership, which is only $15 a month. That one focuses on entrepreneurship, Black history, and the history of Black Wall Street. All those membership or bundles are available at imifoundation.com. Sign up today before the prices go up. We appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for tapping in. Happy New Year. And make sure y'all stay blessed, stay brilliant, and stay great. Peace.